What's up, everybody? My name is KSaun. Welcome back to the WDL. This is Season 3, Week 9, the final week of the regular season for the Wezette division, who is the final division in my series of videos. So let's take a look at the standings before we jump into these matches. We have in first place Ram9, coach of the Rock Boys, our Season 2 Grand Champion, who are fresh off of a win over MacRain and the Materia Hunters. They are currently tied in the amount of points, record, and plus minus. Two amazing players and people, both with 20, but they both have their work cut out for them with very tough matchups this week. Numero 80 of the Blind Enthusiast currently in third place with 19 points, faces off against Ram9, and Chisei of the Heretics with 18 points faces off against MacRain. So depending on what happens this week, Chisei can finish somewhere between second and fourth, but the other three players can finish anywhere between first and fourth. So we know these four teams are our top four. We just don't know who is where. And honestly, you're just really trying to not be that fourth seed. The higher seed, the better for sure. But trying to dodge on that fourth seed because you may have to play an extra match, or you will have to play an extra match compared to the other three teams. After that, it gets very, very interesting. My team, the Zanarkand Abes, currently with 14 points, alongside Garouken's Corked and Screwed, also with 14 points. And for myself, I mentioned this last week, but eerily similar circumstances to last season. I was basically in a spot where all I had to do was win my series to make the playoffs, and I ended up losing my series 2-1 against the 7th place team who had 11 points at that time. Let's go to the next team. Greatestness, State Military, 11 points in 7th place, happens to be the team that I faced this week. So eerily similar circumstances to last time. It is just weird that that played out that way. So Shadow 91 of the Logic Breakers in 8th place with 9 points. Mr. Aloha of Team Pokesquid with 7, and 25th Bam of the Black Turtles with 2. We've got a bunch of really good matchups for you guys today. Taking my face off the screen, we have Ram9 versus Numero 80, MacRain versus Chisei, myself versus Greatestness, Garouken versus Bam, and Shadow 91 of Mr. Aloha. So we have a bunch of really awesome best of threes for you guys today. Let's check them out. All right, guys, jumping into this series, a series that doesn't matter a whole lot for standings, but it should be a juicy one to watch anyway. Mr. Aloha running a full MR and lower squad with Alum, Adelard, and Sosha. Shadow 91 of the Logic Breakers going with Winter Loartha, Celis, and Elshra. Shout out to Shadow 91 who finished 4th place in the Wezette Cup this last weekend. Very, very fun to watch. Quicken comes out from the Elshra onto the Celis. She's going to start to walk forward with undefeated General's Pride. She's got hate up. She's got HP Absorb, as it looks like there are some junk files on Shadow's computer. But it looks like he's got something that takes care of it, so that's great to see. Silencing Jump takes a little bit of damage onto the Celis as the Fire Gut Incarnate gets soaked up from the Adelard onto the Celis. Alam's going to jump way up into the air, though. Revitalized from Winter Loartha, so she's going to walk forward with tons of AP here. Elshra going to go for, I imagine, another Quicken here. It's going to hit the Winter Loartha. How much damage could she do? She can deal a ton of damage if she gets an opportunity. Binding Javelin does 8,200 onto the Sosha. A Sosha who we saw pop off last week. Dragon Dive does 4,200 to the Celis. Not bad. As Rune Break almost one-shots the Adelard. I will say, this is looking pretty rough here for Mr. Aloha. Set the Pace comes out. That is the TMR from Addison Ray to try and dispel haste, but I don't think that's going to matter here. It looks like it's just Quickens on this side. Adelard's going to channel another spell, but this should get soaked up by Celis again, as Alum is going to do another attack. Runic will finally be gone, but is it too late? Winter Loartha is going to get another opportunity here. She's going to go for an attack. Javelin Fall is going to come out. It gets dodged by Alum. This is Evasion Alum. We've seen Mr. Aloha run this before. 1,300 attack. 1,300 damage, rather, onto the Celis. Magic Burst comes through, gets dodged again by the Alum. I'm pretty sure Shadow 91's going to win this. Does he have any guaranteed hits, though? I'm not entirely sure. Paralyzing Edge is a guaranteed hit. Winter Loartha apparently has Soldier Sub-Job and has that equipped. That will be the Game 1 victory for the Logic Breakers. Game number 2 of Mr. Aloha's team, Pokesquid versus Shadow 91's Logic Breakers. Shadow with the Game 1 win, trying to close this out in 2. Does Mr. Aloha stop him and bring him to a Game 3, though? Glaciella Flagbearer going to go with the AoE buff to get her own shield online. All-out assault coming out from the other Wind Spear girl, Winter Loartha. And set the pace coming out from Sosha. This is a very strong team coming out from Mr. Aloha. This is the team that actually beat Garouken last week. The Runic Blade Plus coming out from Celis as she's going to walk to the side, catch another Quicken from the Time Mage Elshra. She's going to start to walk forward with the undefeated General's Pride, unit attack resistance up, and she's got plenty of hate at the moment. Keenblade coming out from Warrior of Light. Looks like the positioning of this working out very well for Mr. Aloha, as Warrior of Light is going to start walking forward. Glacial is going to pop that King Bradley TMR to get the haste online, and Sosha looks like she is in range to deal some damage here. We saw her really pop off last week. What can she get done in this situation? As it looks like Warrior of Light is in range, goes for the stop strike, tries to land that status effect, but it looks like it does not go off here. Elstra gonna go with, I'm guessing, another Quicken? Actually, I take that back. She does have a very offensive AI. I remember this when I faced a Shadow earlier in the season. 5,000 damage from the Meteor is actually quite effective here, and Glaciella, surprisingly enough, is not able to find damage onto the Celis. Magic Burst coming out from the Celis, and now Warrior of Light heals all the way back to full, but Hazard Slash dealing a lot of damage. This Elstra just kind of going nuts here. Sosha, not having the AP, has to go for Set the Pace to try and get rid of any sort of haste that might come across from Shadow's team. The Valkyrie Burst Limit Break coming out from Glaciella, though. How much damage is this going to do to the party? It is a ton of damage to the Elstra. Not too much of a surprise. She's not very tanky. Celis soaks it pretty well, but Winter Luartha comes with a Binding Javelin, taking out the tank, and now it is a 2v2. But Glacial Flag Bearer is an absolute beast. I would not bet against her, as Shining Conviction comes out. A ton of damage. Winter Luartha almost drops. Magic Burst onto the Sosha, and I think this is looking pretty darn good for Mr. Aloha here. Sosha's going to jump up into the skies. Winter Luartha does have an opportunity to go for damage. Battering Lance does 8k to the Glaciella, but Sosha takes out Celis, and the Glaciella should be able to clean this up. No, counter trick comes out, the preemptive counter for Winter Luartha, excuse me. And Sosha can't find damage. If Winter Luartha can one-shot, she has 28 AP. Javelin Fall comes out. She does it. She pulls it off. Oh my goodness. I did not see that coming. I thought Mr. Aloha was going to hard win that fight. And Winter Luartha goes for 8k damage on both Glaciella and Sosha. That is incredibly impressive. And Shadow 91 and the Logic Breakers pull off the 2-0 series win. Hats off to both of these players. A couple of players with a bunch of really interesting strategies and thinking about the game a little differently and just having a lot of fun with it. So I thoroughly enjoyed watching all of their games this season. Hats off to both of them. Let's check out the next series. Next series up to bat, we've got numero 80 of the Blind Enthusiast versus Ram 9 and the Rock Boys. A couple of teams trying to fight for that first place spot. Ram 9 currently in first, in control of his own destiny. If he wins this, he gets first. Numero 80, if he wins this, he needs MacRain to lose to get first. Keen Blade coming out from the Surges here. And this is a double strike team with Alphonse, Raldor, and Surges. Expertise of the Alchemist coming out from this Alphonse, and we've seen this Alphonse go absolutely nuts for Ram 9 all season. Numero 80 rocking a couple of I almost said wind ice missile units, with the Sharpshoot coming out from Aloha dealing just shy of 3k. I do wonder if that's what numero 80 wants to see on turn 1, though. I imagine probably a buff was something you want to see, but the Frostbite lands from Curry, who starts with a ton of AP at the beginning of this fight. He still has 46. And the Frostbite on Alphonse is huge because he might not be able to do a whole lot in this fight, and actually takes out Surges already. Numero 80 is out to a huge lead here. The one thing I will say, though, is the Ruler's Providence comes out from Raldor, getting that AP Restore and Protect. That is a TMR I haven't seen in a while. I think that is the Noctis TMR. Boulder Blockade can't quite kill Curry, but Alphonse is going to be fresh out of AP on his next turn. One thing I was going to mention, though, is Raldor is a fire unit, and he's very resistant to missile. I do wonder if these ice missile units can get through him. They're out to an early lead. They're going to have a tough time getting through Raldor. Alaya is who I'm looking at to do that. Sharpshoot comes out for just over 3k. Phoebe probably going to go for another Quicken here. But Alaya, I don't know if she has the damage. Raldor, is he in range to get anything done? He is. Demolition Fist is going to be on the Curry. He's still rocking about 62 AP. And if he gets an opportunity, I think this is probably over for Numero. It looked good early, but it might be not quite enough. Divine Healing comes out from the Alphonse, just going to raise his max HP by a little bit, but that really doesn't do a whole lot for him. But Alaya, with basically no AP, is going to shoot that Metal Giant, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Full Life comes out from the Phoebe, though, so now Curry is back to life, and I always forget that Phoebe has that in her kit here instead of the Time Age stuff. Demolition Fist is going to one-shot Alaya, though, and Phoebe is not Naya, which means she only has one use of Full Life here, and I think this is Ram Knight's fight in game number 1. Ram 9's fight, excuse me. Frostmaw Barrage comes again, refreshes that Frostbite on Alphonse, who really can't do a whole lot in this fight, but Raldor can clean this up, no problem. Slow counter goes off. The slow does not land. And if you're numero 80, I'm assuming you're thinking of some sort of different strategy for game 2 here. I can't imagine you run this into Raldor twice, but we'll see if that's the case. The standard attack comes out from Curry, 821 damage. Just not going to cut it. Raldor, can he find an AoE, or is he basically all single target? He finds the Wicked Pummel, almost 14,000 damage on a Curry, and Ram 9 of the Rock Boys, who are currently in first place, out to a very promising lead, 1-0. Ram 9 and the Rock Boys out to a 1-0 lead, and it looks like numero 80 is changing up the strategy slightly, still sticking with the Aloha rather than going with the Dark team, but now using Moraga to try and be a physical tank. And it looks like Ram 9 has switched up his team comp as well. This is a tanky team. There's so much healing on the other side. It is hard to get through. It's Reagan, Fryevi, Murmur, and often he runs double healing TMR, Yuna, and Mashri. And this comp is just ridiculous to get through. Here comes the Time Mage spell coming out from Phoebe. Is it a haste? Is it a quicken? As it looks like the Keen Blade from Moraga. I do wonder if that's how Numero wanted that to go, with the Moraga walking backwards. I expect probably not. Maybe though, as a quicken goes on to Moraga, it doesn't really matter if he walks backwards because he will now Immortal Spirit and start to walk forward. And tracking the movement, it looks like he has 3 movement. He can run a ninja skill that increases it with Shikuchi. Looks like numero 80 is not running that at the moment, though. The Guns of the Dragon Princess, a nice chain starting out 2,200 on the first hit, 3,150 on the next, lands the Immobilize, and now Fryevi is about 2/3 health at this moment. She has a massive health bar. Quicken does go off again on the Moraga, which will put him away from the Alaya, which is good for her. But Alaya's going to have to do so much damage by herself to get through this. Protecting the Light of the Future comes out from Reagan, so he now has Courage online. He still has his heal back. And Phoebe is in range to do another Quicken to Moraga, and I think he is the one who's going to catch all of these. How much damage is he able to do? Because he is a tank, but he is not known as a massive damage dealer. 96 AP though, Skull Crusher comes out, lands the stun onto Fryevi. That could be nice to try and mitigate any sort of extra damage that she could do, or extra chaining. But can Alaya find a good angle here? It looks like she cannot. She's going to go Quick Fire stance, and she actually stands still, oddly enough. That is strange. I would have thought that she would have tried to move to get closer in range, but she actually just stood still. The Fryevi is stunned. She cannot move. Reagan's going to follow up with a Courage removal and removing Moraga to boot. And Phoebe, I imagine, going to go for a full life here to try and bring back Moraga, just like in game 1, bringing back the Curry. Fryevi is still stuck in one place. Alaya's going to get to go, and Phoebe will bring him back. Armor Board doing good damage here. And now all of a sudden this looks like there might be an opportunity for numero 80 if Alaya is able to find that again, but Moraga needs to move out of the way so that Alaya can find this attack. This is one of the TMRs I talked about though. The Yuna TMR Smile Practice is a massive heal, Protect and Shell. Azure Blade Strike from Reagan is going to absolutely obliterate Phoebe, and this is now a 3v2 in Ram 9's favor. Fryevi going to follow up with the Blizziga Blade, doing decent damage to the Moraga here. He has very good slash resist in his kit. Gonna go with the Sorcery Shear, dropping the magic attack, but unfortunately he is just in the way, which means Alaya has to do an arcing shot, cannot go for Armor Borer. And this Moraga being in the way is just really, really painful, I think, for numero 80. The Purify actually comes out from Fryevi. I think that is the Ayaka TMR. I've only ever seen that used in battle one time. Cool to see as a massive amount of damage comes out from Reagan. That 3-hitter went for 5 digits of damage if you add it all together. Murmur's going to follow up with what I imagine is a flare. I guess it's possible it could be a heal. Armor Borer does find all 3 though, and just destroys them. Murmur, I thought, was dead. She does live. This flare is going to hit for a lot of damage, 7,500. Not sure if it would have mattered or not. Reagan, I imagine, probably can one-shot Alaya regardless. But either way, an impressive series by Ram 9 and the Rock Boys. Congratulations on the 2-0 victory and for clinching the first seed of the Wezette division. Next series up to bat, guys. We've got MacRain of the Materia Hunters versus Chisei of the Heretics, who's rocking that Realm Skirt Survivor title. Very, very cool. As Ruler's Providence comes out from Yerma, and this is the second use of the Noctis DMR we've seen this week. Very, very interesting. Something we haven't seen in a while coming out again as Divine Sacrament comes out from the Sodali on Chisei's side, rocking some of that Dark Ramu synergy with Sodali and the Renan. Sweet support coming up from the Minwu. And heading into this series, as Renan's going to go for his barrier, if MacRain wins, he will be the 2nd seed. If Chisei wins, he will be the 2nd seed. If MacRain loses, he will be the 3rd seed. if Chisei loses, he will be the 4th seed. So very interesting to see how this plays out here, as Padfoot's going to come out from the Liarte, going to get that haste and hate down the Pissarro TMR, as Rebellious Spirit from Yerma, and Yerma is an absolute monster. I didn't think I would be saying that going into the season, but MacRain has put in so much work with this unit. It is undeniable that she is a little bit underrated. Guard haste onto the Dario. He's going to catch another haste, so double hasted units on the field here, as Indoctrination from Sodali misses. Is this an evasion team coming out from MacRain? Renan is going to go next. What does he go for? Ball Lightning Plus misses the Dario. Again, he has dodged 2 attacks already. MacRain, oh my goodness, you mad lad. Running the evasion Dario strategy has dodged 2 hits already. Yerma did catch the hit, but Reaving Axe obliterates Renan. And we have seen how ridiculous this Yerma has been in terms of just destroying people in 1 hit with these single target attacks. Shadow Devour comes out for 1800 damage. Dario is going to resist the statuses, and MacRain, to no surprise, his team is incredibly studied up and ready to go based on his opponent. Unfailing Kneebreaker is going to destroy Sodali. This Yerma has claimed 2 KOs. Can she claim a 3rd here? Sentinel on the Dario to get that defense and spirit up. And unfortunately, Chisei's team never stood a chance here in this first game. Liarte's going to try her best, but unless she charms the Yerma or something like that, I don't think there's a chance. Shadow Devourer does land the poison, so one of the statuses is there for the Dario, as the Ruler's Providence going to be refreshed onto Yerma, so apparently that TMR does have 2 uses. Sweet Support again comes out from the Minwood, getting that agility up on the party. And Dario's going to try and clean this up. Draining Seal going to do 4,200 damage. Won't be enough to take out the Liarte, so she will have one more opportunity to put down some damage before MacRain claims this Game 1 victory. Shadow Devourer is going to come out again, going to refresh the poison. And Yerma will claim her 3rd kill of the game. Snipe Dagger, 10,000 damage. And man, oh man, Yerma continues to just be an absolute monster on the battlefield. Game 1 goes to MacRain. Game number 2 here, MacRain looking to try and win this series. Again, the winner of the series is the 2nd seed. Chisei, if he loses, falls to the 4th seed, which means he has to play an extra game in the playoffs. I know he is trying to avoid that. The Ruler's Providence again comes out from the Yerma, and it looks like basically the exact same turn rotation coming out from MacRain in Game 2. Wasn't entirely sure if I was watching the same game back here. Keenblade coming out from the Dario as he's going to start walking forward. And it looks like it is still Sodali, Renan, and Liarte, just like the last time. This is the Black Rose Helena TMR coming out from Sodali this time. And what does Renan go for? He's going to channel his barrier, get that Lightning Blessing up. And now Minwu is going to start channeling a spell. What is she going to go for? And does Liarte still have the Padfoot TMR? She does not. She's going to go for Shadow Devour here and lands the poison early onto Dario. So I would say this is at least a better start for Chisei. But my question is, what is your build difference? How are you able to resist the Yerma, who is just absolutely destroying people? As Draining Seal heals up the Dario, but takes 3,700 damage worth of poison on the next turn. Sodali going to go with Immortal Dogma, so now Renan does have Re-Raise online, so that is one way to keep him alive a little longer, because if he dies, he doesn't die. And he's going to start channeling a spell here. How much damage is this going to do? I imagine maybe a Ball Lightning Plus here. It's a Chaotic Discharge, actually. Going to hit both Yerma and Dario for a little over 3k, I believe, to each. Draining Seal going to heal up Dario just a little, but that poison is doing so much work here. And the early Shadow Devourer from Liarte is putting in work for Chisei. Reaving Axe will absolutely destroy Renan, but he does come back to life. I'm trying to see on the turn order here if he's going to get another opportunity. Guard Haste is going to be caught by the Yerma. And I'm looking, and Yerma is going to go before Renan. That is trouble for Chisei here. Stop Arrow does not land the stop onto Dario. Minwu's going to go Greater Law of Invigoration. So if Dario wasn't tanky enough, even though this poison is ticking through him, he catches a massive heal. What does Sodali have, though? Indoctrination will take out the healer, which is a big deal. And one thing I will say is Yerma really doesn't have big AoEs. She has big single target attacks. But there it is onto the Sodali, who also has the Re-Raise. So double Re-Raise on Chisei's team, keeping him in it here. Can Dario find a kill? Otherwise, Renan might be able to find a ton of damage. He can. There is still a wind chain. It's been that long since Renan took a turn, but the wind slash chain is there. Yerma goes ahead of Sodali, finds the kill, and it looks like MacRain is probably poised to take a Game 2 victory here as well, as Draining Seal will heal up the Dario. And I will say, man, MacRain runs some teams that on paper don't seem like they would be that strong, but he just crushes people with them, and it is so impressive to see. And MacRain is just an absolutely amazing person and player, and I could say the exact same thing about Chisei. So unfortunately, one of these two players has to lose. It's going to be Chisei in this one. He will end up claiming the 4th seed. MacRain will end up claiming the 2 seed. But either way, an enjoyable series. Looking forward to seeing both players in the playoffs. And now that Chisei is the 4th seed, we need to check out the next 2 series to find out who will be the 5th seed playing against him in the first round. Let's jump into the next series. Heading into this next series, guys, it's Bam of the Black Turtles versus Garouken's Corked and Screwed. Bam looking to try and play upset here, trying to get his first series win on the season. Garouken trying to claim that 5th spot over my team, as Revitalize is coming from the Lucio to try and get as much AP as possible. Soma going to go with the Crimson Resistance, Slash Resistance, Missile Attack Resistance, Max HP. Very nice buff for her and Charlotte, as she's going to go Attract Wall and get that hate up. And this is a full Red Mage VC composition coming out from Garouken, a team we've seen him bring out a handful of times to great success, as Fall with the Stars comes out from Cherise, so she has a massive range here. She is somehow able to reach Charlotte. 1500 damage, not a whole lot, but it does give her some hate down and remove some of that hate from Charlotte. Piercing rate up on the Summer Helena here, as Krace is going to follow up. She's going to go for a Barrier Break Arrow. 2700 damage, going to reduce the activation rate on Lucio. A nice start here, but not as much damage as I think Bam would like to see, as the Crimson Resistance does get refreshed on Soma and Charlotte here. Lucio, can he reach the Krace? Yes, he can. Surge Strike, 6700 damage is going to take her out, and this is an early 3v2 lead for Garouken in game 1 here. And Charlotte, what does she have in store for us? She's going to go for Terror Slash herself, so a lot of strike damage coming out from Garouken's team. 4,500 is pretty impressive considering that's a tank. Cherise is standard attacking, but she gets very little AP from that attack. But one person who does have AP is this Mage Summer Helena. Can she take out the Silma in one hit and find damage on the Charlotte with the Mermaid Dance? Going to drop the AoE resistance. It drops Silma and honestly does more to Charlotte than I would have expected considering she's a strong magic tank. Lucio is going to follow up with a Surge Strike, and there is no courage online for the Summer Helena, which means she is going to drop. It is a 2v1 in Garouken's favor, and I don't think Cherise has the damage to get this done. She does finally have some AP here, but she is working overtime to try and pull this off. Surge Strike comes out again from the Charlotte. Again, very solid damage. Can Lucio get into range here? Can he traverse the map? Yes, he can. Radiant Nova finds it. Over 9,000 damage to the Cherise, and that is a game 1 victory for Garouken's Corked and Screwed. Game number 2 here, and if Garouken of Corked and Screwed can win this game, the pressure becomes all on my team here, as I would have to win my series to clinch a spot. If any other circumstance were to happen, then they would clinch their spot. That is Corked and Screwed. Revitalize coming out from the Lucio. AP Auto Restore. This is Ziza's Bells. A tale as old as time. A Team R we've seen many, many times. As Soma's going to go next, she's going to start channeling a spell here. I imagine this is a fast cast, so slightly different setup coming out from Garouken. As Bam is running a completely different team here. The Limit Break still coming out from Cherise on turn 1, trying to debuff anything going on there with Charlotte as she gets the quick action return. But there is a Mish and a Kefka in the back here, and they have a lot of damage in their kit if they are allowed to hit people. Show Me Your Power comes out from the Kefka, which means this is now a Mish tank. Is he in range for Flare, though, or is this like a Firaga or something? It is the Firaga. How much damage does it do? 1115 is probably not as much as Bam would like to see. Does Charlotte get the kill in one hit? Yes, she does. 8,400 damage is a ton. Mish is very, very squishy. And Charlotte, even though she is a tank, can deal some pretty respectable damage. I expect another fast cast coming out from this Silma, as Lucio is going to fall forward. Crescentic Break takes out the Cherise, and Garouken can taste the victory of this series here in game number 2. Kefka's going to have to put in so much work to try and pull this off. Forsaken only does 1900, removes the haste, but Charlotte is just tanking this damage so incredibly well. And this full Red Mage squad from Garouken is looking potent. Pummel starts a nice little chain here. Can Lucio get into range? I don't think he can from here. Light Blessing comes out. Agility up on crit. Unit attack resist. A nice little buff. But Kefka's a beast, but I don't know if he can pull this off unless all 3 units stack together. Jamming Thrust is not going to give him the opportunity. 7,500 damage comes out from the Silma, and Garouken of Corked and Screwed wins the series, putting himself at 17 points in the standings. And the only series left to go is my series versus Greatestness. If Greatestness beats me, Garouken will become the 5th seed. If I win the series, I will become the 5th seed. So for all the marbles, we have one more series to check out. Let's jump into it. The final series of the regular season for the WDL of any division, and I am running my Rain, Shutzelt, and Skahal team. Skahal filling in for Cloud in this full Greatsword comp, as Hio is going to buff the entire party here alongside his King Mont and Severo here. King Mont is going to go Proclamation to start to walk forward. My Shutzelt is going to proc Hazard Revival to give him courage and a heal back here. And I expect Skahal to go with some sort of buff, but it looks like the positioning is actually baiting him out on turn 1. So he is going to go for damage, and I'm realizing very quickly this position is poor for me as Rain is very far away from the other team. I'm hoping my damage dealers don't go out down right away, but Flare is 8,500 damage from my Skahal. That is a fantastic start. It does get mostly healed back. Water Perpetuator doing over 3k from the Severo, but Hio is actually in range of my Skahal here, and I'm thinking, oh shit, Severo drops Skahal below 70%, which means Extreme Nova is going to take out my Skahal immediately in game 1. I am now down to a 2v3 in this situation, and this is going to be very hard for me to overcome. Heart of Flutter comes out from the King Mont, unit attack resist up, and the movement up. Drain Force is a good chunk of damage though. Shutzelt is an underrated unit in my opinion, but a 2v3 is still going to be hard to pull off. Astral Guard comes out from the Rain, so he has his hate up and a magic barrier. Severo going to go Flare on the Shutzelt though. How much damage does it do? 7,400 is quite a lot here. And Hio does have Re-Raise removal in his hit, but he does not have Courage removal, and crucially for me, does not proc the Courage. Fangs of Leonis comes out from King Mont onto my Rain though, and I was not running Disable Resist in this game 1, so he does get disabled. Pressure Hazard comes out from Shutzelt. I do not land the stop. Rain can do absolutely nothing at this moment. Hio is going to follow up with a Heat Drive, and I am seeing my chances in this first game dwindle away here, as King Mont's going to follow up with another Fangs of Leonis, just going to refresh that Disable, and Paralyzing Edge comes out from Shutzelt. I think Drain Force would have killed, but he didn't have quite enough AP to pull it off. So this King Mont is doing a damn good job of tanking up. Jamming Thrust comes out from the Severo, who finds the kill on the Rain. I'm saying Shutzelt, my guy, any way you can pull off this 1v3. Beast Roar comes out from the Hio again, just like on turn 1. So he still has that counter that can heal himself up. Shutzelt just gets a little bit of AP, but he still cannot take out King Mont, as I expect another Flare from Severo here. Fangs of Leonis comes out for 25.99. Flare should all but kill Shutzelt here. 74.36 will proc the Courage, and Hio should be able to follow up with this. He's going to go Dark Mega Flare, Dark Bahamut, and Greatestness pulls off the game 1 victory 3-0. All 3 units still alive. I'll be honest, this comp I brought, I didn't test versus this team that Greatestness brought out. Oddly enough, this team was designed to beat his King Bradley team. I know what you're thinking. That sounds crazy because it's a Lightning team, but I tested versus both Numero 80 and Machen X, and I won like 7 out of 7 times versus a King Bradley matchup. So I actually was hoping that would happen. The Earth doesn't come, and I lose game 1. So at this point, I am very nervous about my chances in this series, but I'm hoping a couple of positional changes can fix it for me. Let's head into game 2 and see if it works out. Heading into game number 2, I bring the exact same comp, and Greatestness does too. My change here is that I'm going to move Skahal back further, because I'm thinking that if he doesn't get baited out in turn 1 and attacked, that I will have a good chance at winning this if he's able to get some damage up. That Beast Roar buff comes out from Hio again, Proclamation again from King Mont, and Hazard Revival comes out from the Shutzelt, gets that Courage online, and walks to the side. But I'm looking at the positioning. I'm not sure if I just screwed up or I didn't save something correctly. Skahal still is baited out here. He is in range to deal damage, which is not what I want. I'm praying that Rain is in range to be the tank I want him to be. Thunderga Disposer does only 4k compared to 8k on the Flare last time. Waterga's going to hit the Skahal, and I am in almost the exact same situation as I am in game 1. Debilitating Counter does come out, drops the attack, but it is not enough to live the hit, and I am immediately down to a 2v3 again. At this moment, I can see my playoff chances fading away away very quickly here as Rain is going for the Astral Guard, getting the hate and the magic barrier. Shutzelt is going to walk forward. He gets a pressure hazard and lands the stop on Hio. And I think, hold on just a second. Maybe there is a chance for me. Shutzelt, you're going to have to hard carry. Heart of Flutter comes out from the King Mont. Water Gun Perpetuator comes out from the Severo. Notice the Bravery bonus does not drop on Shutzelt. He has like 12 debuff resistance, but Shutzelt is trying his best to pull this off for me. 35 AP comes out. Pressure Hazard is going to land the kill onto Severo, and now all of a sudden this is a 2v2 with one of them being stopped, so it is somewhat in my favor. But now, can I possibly get through this giant mountain of a man, Mont Leonis, King Leonis? Paralyzing Edge comes out from the Shutzelt, and I land the Paralysis. So the full Paralyze happens for King Mont. At this point, I'm basically 3 for 3 on RNG for Shutzelt, and he is basically solo carrying this fight. In this moment, he has no AP. He's going to go King Bradley TMR to haste himself up because he can't move towards King Mont and he can't cast any skills without AP. Shutzelt Paralyzing Edge will kill the King Mont, but notice, so much time has passed, Hio is no longer stopped. And there's no way that Hio can pull off a 1v2, right? Hio is going to go next. Tons of AP in his kit, and I don't have a whole lot left. Unknown Trader is going to remove the haste from Shutzelt. It procs his Courage, which means he's going to heal back, and it is a double unit attack resist. He's going to heal back with Firm Resolve. Any sort of damage he caught from the Shutzelt. Rain is going to stand still. I am running Bowtie on Rain, which means he is not in range to deal a standard attack and has no skills left to use. Hio takes out the Rain, and I'm praying that Shutzelt can take him out in one hit. He does with the Paralyzing Edge, and I win game 2, putting me to game point here. Guys, this game was absolutely nuts. In the moment when I played against Greatestness early on in this battle, I thought there was no way in hell I was going to win this. I thought I butchered the positioning and somehow screwed up by letting my Skahal get basically taken out before he got a second attack off. But Shutzelt, my man, came through for me in game 2 and gave me at least a chance to try and win this series. So heading into the final game, let's find out what happens. Heading into this final game, and we decide to both bring the same comps we've brought for game 1 and game 2. This time I changed the position drastically, thinking no matter what, if I'm going to lose, it's not going to be because Skahal gets caught out immediately. The Beast Roar comes out from the Hio, Proclamation from King Mont, and this is the exact same starting position coming out from Greatestness. I think him thinking without some of the bad RNG, he probably would have won last fight, and he's probably correct. Hazard Revival comes out from Shutzelt. He's going to get his Courage and Heal back online. And Skahal is going to go with Jealous Wrath. I have the Vega TMR equipped on him here. I thought about running Zombie Mask, but Hio does have Re-Raise removal, and I thought better not risk it. Haste Perpetuator comes out from Severo, so now he has Courage online. He has not used this yet in the series, but at this moment he is hasted, and that has that as well. Veiled Defiance coming out from Hio as the Sweetheart Eldira TMR on King Mont allows him a ton of movement. Rain should be in range to deal damage to the Mont, so he's going to start a nice little Fire Slash chain. I'm hoping that Shutzelt can chain up with him. He can. Pressure Hazard does only 5,200 though, even with the nice Slash chain. This King Mont is very, very tanky. Skahal is going to start channeling a Guard Haste on himself, so he should be nice and speedy, just like the Severo on the other side. Severo is going to go for a Flare onto my Rain though. He's a lot tankier versus AoE attacks than single target, as this does almost 4k. Heat Drive from the Hio does another 3,800, and I'm thinking, please live one more hit from this King Mont, as he's going to go Fangs of Leonis, doesn't land the kill, and crucially for me, he actually backs up towards his other teammates. I thought Skahal might be able to get in range to deal damage, but he can't. Flaming Impact comes out, but the slow does not land on anybody. The massive heal back goes on to King Mont. Pressure Hazard from Shutzelt, though, lands a double stop on Severo and Hio, and Shutzelt, the MVP of game 2, is looking to be the MVP in game 3 here again with 2 completely frozen in time units. Skahal is going to go for a Flare onto King Mont, which should do quite a bit of damage, 54-51. Shutzelt's going to go for another standard attack because he is out of AP at the moment. And King Mont is trying to bide as much time as he possibly can until these 2 units become unstopped. But Pressure Hazard again from the Shutzelt almost kills King Mont, brings Hio down to Courage, and Skahal finally has a moment to be useful, finds a Thundaga Disposer on all 3 units, finds the triple kill, and I end up winning the series 2-1. Greatestness was an awesome person. I felt really unfortunate for him, I guess. Throughout the week, he was trying to roll for stop resist runes and just couldn't catch them. We didn't get to voice chat, but he seems like a really awesome guy, and I really enjoyed the series. I'll talk a little bit more about everything during the standings breakdown, but amazing series for Greatestness. GG, and let's check out the standings. All right, guys, the regular season is over here in the Wezette division. That means the regular season is over, period. And these are how the standings shake out. So we have Ram9, coach of the Rock Boys, in first place, trying to defend his throne. He might have a chance at it. He's got his pick of the litter in terms of who he wants to play against in that Heinler division between 3rd through 5th seed, depending on who wins that 4th, 5th matchup. But I will go over the bracket in just a second and make sure that's nice and clear for everybody. MacRain of the Materia Hunters, very, very impressive season with 23 points. Obviously, losing to Ram9 means he loses the tiebreaker, but he still has a first round bye and is still in good shape. Numero 80 of the Blind Enthusiast with 19 points also clinches himself a first round bye with 19. 3rd place, very, very impressive in his rookie season. And his guildmate, Chisei of the Heretics, also in the playoffs, but does have to play an extra match because he does end up as the 4th seed with 18 points. And who is this name right here as the 5th seed? Somebody who hasn't made the playoffs before, that would be myself, coach of the Zanarkand Abes. I was just ridiculously close last season, and I managed to pull it off this season. I would be lying to you guys if I said that I didn't get a bunch of luck in Game 2 specifically versus Greatestness this week. I kind of talked about it a little bit in my cast about some things going off, but a few things. Skahal landed his debilitating counter, which certainly helped. I have like 12% debuff resistance on my Shutzelt, and somehow that was lucky enough to not get debuffed Bravery down by Severo. If he landed that, I'm pretty sure I lose. I also landed the stop on Hio. So like 3 things went well for me. If one of those 3 things doesn't happen, I'm certain I lose that game too. So I'd be lying to say I'd be lying if I said I didn't get lucky this week. But I've said this before, it was weird. In the first like 6 weeks, I actually felt like I was very unlucky. And in the last 3 weeks, it's completely turned around. I've been very fortunate, very lucky. So that's just how it goes sometimes. Sometimes it's up, sometimes it's down. But ultimately, I end up clinching myself that 5th place seed. For Garouken of Corked and Screwed, honestly, heartbroken for him, to be honest. This is by far the most points of any team who didn't make the playoffs this season, and I know how that feels. Last season I had 18 points and didn't make it, when a team from the other division had 17 and did make it. So that can be frustrating at times, so I am sorry, Garouken, that you didn't end up making it, but I hope you'll participate in the Toilet Bowl and represent for the Wezette division. Maybe you can go win that thing. So another Wezette team still holds that crown, as I did last season. So we'll see. The Shadow 91 of the Logic Breakers and Greatestness of State Military, both with 12 points. Shadow actually goes up from the 8th seed to the 7th seed this week because he does have the head-to-head over Greatestness. Mr. Aloha of Team Pokesquid with 7 points, and Bama Black Turtles with 2. And big shout out to Greatestness this week. Awesome guy. We unfortunately didn't get to voice chat while we played, but we did chat in the Discord for a while, and he seems like a really awesome guy. I talked about how I was lucky also. One other lucky thing is that he said he was rolling for stop resist runes like all week, and he just wasn't catching them. So another thing, hey Gumi, fix your Trust Stone thing. Just make it so that we can pick a status effect so that we don't have to roll for it. It's pretty ridiculous that we have to do that. So regardless, shout out to everybody in this division who I spoke with, voice chatted with, anything like that throughout the season. Just a bunch of amazing people that I got to meet this season. You know, I get to talk a little bit and stuff like that with teams from other divisions, but especially the one that I'm a part of. I get to talk to them a lot more. And one of my favorite things, probably my favorite thing from just being in this league, is getting to know people who are a part of it. There's just so many amazing people that I've gotten the chance to meet, and honestly, feel very fortunate about that. So shout out to everybody in this division. You guys are all awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we all do in the playoffs. So without further ado, let's look at the final playoff bracket. So if you guys have not watched the other 3 videos, Rundal, Leonis, and Heinler, I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 seconds to close this video before I go to the bracket and reveal the final standings. So here we go. So I'm going to take off my face off the screen so this is a little bit easier to understand. I understand that there are a lot of colorful things and a lot of things going on here that might look a little confusing. So let me go ahead and clear stuff up. So this all the way on the left here is essentially the first round of matches, or at least partially. So what is happening is that each division, Leonis, Rundal, Heinler, and Wezette, are all going to have their 4th seed face off against their 5th seed. So Leonis, 4th seed is Machen X. Their 5th seed is Highwind. Those two teams are going to face off against each other. Rundal's 4th seed Katra is going to face off against Jesus LBL. Heinler's 4th seed Maverick is going to face off against Spike, and our 4th seed Chisei is going to face off against me. These other 4 teams here you see are the 3rd seed. They don't actually play in this round, but I needed a spot to at least put them just so you guys can see who the 3rd seed is. After these matches are done, I will probably just take them off this part of the graphic because they will be somewhere here. But the reason I didn't fill them in on this side is the way that our playoff structure is. The 1st seed of the division basically gets to choose who they play against to an extent. Rundal and Leonis are going to battle against each other throughout basically this top half of the bracket here. Heinler and Wezette are also going to battle against each other basically on this top half or bottom half of the bracket. So what this means is that Surf Taco, coach of Reagan Against the Machine, is the 1 seed of Rundal. What he's going to do is he's going to send me a message and say, out of the Leonis 3, 4, and 5 seed, so King Delita of Arknights, Katros, Sandrock, and Jesus LBL of the Straw Hats, he will list in order who he wants to face off against in terms of the next round. Obviously, I want them listed in order because the 4th and 5th seed will play against each other. One of them is going to get knocked out. But basically, he will get the highest on the list of who he wants from those 3 teams. The other team from Rundal, which is this Ready Player Will of the Pandas, will face the other team that makes it. So 4 versus 5 are going to play against each other. One of them is going to win. The winner of that and the 3rd seed will play against the opposite division 1 and 2 seed. I hope that kind of makes sense. I made a video like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago breaking down the playoff structure and how that kind of works. So if you guys have questions on it, please go refer to that. But I tried to basically fill in the words here on how this works. So you can kind of draw these conclusions based on like where these rectangles are. This rectangle is the winner of this series versus this one is the winner of this series. So these would play each other. So just as a hypothetical to run through this, right? Let's say we just pick the favorites all the way through. So Leonis will say that Machen X beats Highwind, and Reagan Against Machine Surf Taco says, okay, I will face the lowest seed left, which is Machen. And then we look down here, Ready Player Will face off against King Delita. So here, Sand Rooster would potentially go against somebody like Katra. If he chooses that, Zulk gets who's remaining, which is very likely going to be Coppola. So Zulk versus Coppola, winner would be here, and then the winner of Surf Taco versus Machen would end up here. So let's say Surf Taco and Zulk win, they would face off here. I think it kind of makes sense. I hope you guys can understand it. Feel free to, pause this and take a look at the graphic if you want to understand it better. Otherwise, if you don't really care how it works, you can just go ahead and trust me in terms of who plays who. I'm obviously going to keep track of all this stuff for you guys going. So another thing to keep in mind is that these are all best of 3s here, not best of 5s. The only ones that are best of 5 is our final 4. So when we get to this round, when there's 4 teams left, those will be best of 5s, and then the grand finals will be best of 5. So regardless, I think it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Really, really looking forward to it. After our 1 seeds tell me who they want to play against, this graphic is going to look a lot more clear. Like, it's going to be way more understandable because these 3 seeds are not going to be sitting here. They're going to be in this line, and it's going to be much easier to understand who is playing against each other. So I know it looks a little confusing right now, but I wanted to at least give an idea to people how this works before Surf Taco, Sand Rooster, Ram9, and JB let me know who they want to play against. So I hope you guys enjoyed this regular season. I had a blast casting it. I'll be honest, I'm looking forward to having, it's not necessarily a break, but a lot less time spent on casting videos during the playoffs. There's just way less matches to cast for me, so I'm looking forward to, having a little bit more time off and stuff like that. But I do really, really enjoy it, and I'm truly excited to finally be a part of the playoffs. I know I squeaked in as the 5 seed with some luck at the end of the season, but I'm really going to try and put my best foot forward, and hopefully I can win some series. We'll have to see what happens. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.